Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real tonight. If you want to become unstoppable in 2026, it's not about wishing for a better year. It's about deciding that no matter what happens, you are not quitting. Unstoppable is not a personality trait. It's a choice. A hard one. A daily one. And most people never make it. See, too many people are waiting to feel ready, waiting for confidence, waiting for motivation. But let me help you understand this. Confidence comes after you do the work, not before. You don't wake up unstoppable. You earn it by getting up when you don't feel like it, by showing up when nobody is clapping, by pushing forward when every excuse sounds reasonable. Most people think becoming unstoppable starts with motivation, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes based on how you feel, what happened yesterday, or who encouraged you last. Becoming unstoppable begins with a decision, a firm, non-negotiable choice that no matter what happens, you are moving forward. A decision is different from a wish. A wish hopes things get better. A decision says, even if they don't, I'm still going. When you decide, you remove quitting from your list of options, and that alone changes everything. The moment you decide, your mindset shifts. You stop asking, can I do this? And start asking, how do I do this? That question is powerful because it forces your brain to look for solutions instead of excuses. People who feel stuck are usually stuck because they haven't decided. They're halfway in, halfway out, trying without committing. Life doesn't respond to half decisions. It responds to clarity and commitment. A decision doesn't mean the road becomes easy. In fact, it often becomes harder at first. When you decide to level up, life tests that decision. Doubt shows up, fear shows up, old habits try to pull you back. But this is where the difference is made. Unstoppable people don't wait for fear to disappear. They move with fear in the room. They understand that fear is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that growth is happening. When you decide, your daily actions start to change. You stop negotiating with yourself every morning. You don't ask, do I feel like doing this today? You already decided. The decision handles the argument before it starts. This is why discipline is easier for people who are clear. Confusion creates laziness. Clarity creates momentum. Once the decision is made, your job is simply to honor it one day at a time. A powerful decision also changes how you handle setbacks. Instead of seeing obstacles as proof you should stop, you see them as part of the process. You stop personalizing failure. You don't say, this happened because I'm not good enough. You say, this happened because I'm in the game. That mindset keeps you moving when others give up. The world is full of talented people who quit early because they never truly decided. Decisions also reshape your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who is trying and start seeing yourself as someone who is becoming. That shift is subtle but life-changing. When you see yourself as someone who finishes what they start, your behavior follows. You begin to act in alignment with the person you decided to be. Over time, an identity becomes stronger than any temporary emotion. It's important to understand that one big decision must be supported by many small ones. The big decision sets the direction, but the small daily decisions keep you on the path. Choosing to wake up earlier, choosing to say no to distractions, choosing to do the hard thing instead of the comfortable thing. These choices may feel insignificant in the moment, but they compound. Consistent decisions create unstoppable momentum. When people say they feel overwhelmed, it's often because they're trying to decide every single day whether to continue. That mental battle is exhausting. Make the decision once, then focus on execution. You don't need to decide your purpose every morning. You only need to show up and do the next right thing. That's how progress becomes inevitable. Becoming unstoppable is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming committed. Committed to growth. Committed to learning. Committed to getting back up every time you fall. Once that decision is made, your circumstances lose their power over you. You may move slowly some days, but you will never stop moving. And that is what makes a person truly unstoppable. Talent is overrated when it stands alone. The world is full of gifted people who never reached their potential because they relied on how good they were instead of how consistent they could be. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who build. Discipline shows up on the days when talent wants to sleep, when confidence feels low, and when nobody is watching. It doesn't ask how you feel. It reminds you of what you decided. Most people wait for the right mood to take action, but discipline works in the opposite direction. Action creates the mood. When you move your body, focus your mind, and take responsibility for your time, energy follows. Discipline trains you to act first and feel later. That's why disciplined people often look lucky from the outside. Their luck is really the result of repeated effort done quietly over time. Comfort is the biggest enemy of discipline. When things are easy, people relax. When progress starts showing, they slow down. Discipline requires you to stay hungry even when you're winning. It demands structure, set routines, clear priorities, and boundaries that protect your goals. Without structure, even the most talented person will drift. With structure, even an average person can become extraordinary. Discipline also teaches you how to say no. No to distractions that steal hours. No to people who don't respect your time. No to habits that feel good now but cost you later. Every no you say to something unimportant is a yes to your future. This isn't about isolation or obsession, it's about alignment. Your daily choices should match the life you say you want. One of the hardest parts of discipline is doing the same thing over and over without immediate results. Society celebrates quick wins, but real growth is slow and often invisible at first. Discipline helps you trust the process when nothing seems to be happening. It reminds you that roots grow before trees rise. If you quit too early, you never see what you were building. Discipline also changes how you handle emotions. Instead of letting stress, anger, or doubt control your behavior, you learn to observe them without obeying them. You realize feelings are temporary, but the consequences of your actions are lasting. This awareness gives you power. You stop being a prisoner of your mood and become the leader of your life. Another powerful aspect of discipline is self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Not the loud, showy kind of confidence, but the quiet kind that comes from knowing you can be trusted. Over time, this self-trust becomes unshakable. You stop looking for validation from others because you've proven something to yourself. Discipline doesn't mean being harsh or robotic. It means being honest about what your future requires. It means choosing progress over pleasure when the two conflict. It means understanding that freedom is not the absence of rules, but the presence of the right ones. The more disciplined you become, the more control you gain over your life. When talent and discipline work together, they create momentum that's hard to stop. Talent opens doors, but discipline keeps them open. Discipline ensures that even on your worst days, you still move forward. And when forward movement becomes a habit, success is no longer a question of if, but when. Faith is often misunderstood as simply believing that things will work out, but real faith is active. It is not passive hope or silent wishing. Faith shows itself through movement, through effort, through the willingness to act even when the outcome is uncertain. When you truly have faith, you don't wait for perfect conditions. You step forward while the path is still unclear, trusting that clarity will come with motion. Many people say they believe in God, in destiny, or in a higher purpose, yet their lives don't reflect that belief. They pray, they dream, they talk, but they don't move. Faith without action becomes comfort, not power. It allows you to feel good without changing anything. Real faith challenges you. It pulls you out of your comfort zone and forces you to align your actions with what you claim to believe. Taking action without guarantees is uncomfortable. The human mind wants certainty before effort, proof before commitment. Faith works in reverse. It requires commitment before proof. This is why stepping out in faith feels risky. You may not know how it will all come together. You may not see the resources, the connections, or the timing. But faith says you move anyway, trusting that what you need will be revealed as you go. Action strengthens faith the same way exercise strengthens muscle. The more you act, the more confident you become in your ability to handle what comes next. Each small step builds momentum. Each risk taken and survived reinforces the belief that you are capable, supported, and guided. Over time, faith stops feeling like a leap and starts feeling like a walk. Faith-driven action also changes how you handle fear. Fear doesn't disappear when you have faith. It simply loses its authority. You learn that fear is not a warning sign, but a test of commitment. It asks, do you trust what you believe, or will you retreat when things get uncomfortable? When you continue moving despite fear, you prove to yourself that fear is not in control. You are. Another important part of faith is patience. Acting in faith does not guarantee immediate results. Sometimes you plant seeds that won't show signs of life for months or even years. This waiting period is where many people give up. They mistake delay for denial. Faith teaches you to keep working, even when the evidence is thin. It reminds you that unseen progress is still progress. Faith also requires responsibility. Believing that a higher power is guiding you does not remove your role in the process. You are still responsible for your effort, your preparation, and your consistency. Faith is not an excuse to be careless or lazy. It demands excellence. If you believe you are called to something greater, your actions must reflect that calling. When faith and action are aligned, setbacks no longer feel like failures. They become adjustments. You begin to see obstacles as redirection rather than rejection. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this teaching me? That shift in perspective keeps you moving forward instead of getting stuck in frustration or self-pity. Living this way requires courage because it means letting go of total control. You do your part, but you accept that not everything is in your hands. This balance between effort and trust brings peace. You stop forcing outcomes and start focusing on obedience to the next step. Over time, that approach builds resilience and inner strength. Faith with action transforms uncertainty into possibility. It turns hesitation into momentum. When you consistently move in alignment with what you believe, life begins to respond differently. Opportunities appear. Confidence grows. Direction becomes clearer. You may not always know where the road leads, but you know you are walking it with purpose, and that makes all the difference. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. Most people see it as a signal to stop, a label that says they are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. In reality, failure is evidence that you are trying, that you stepped outside your comfort zone and challenged yourself. If you never fail, it usually means you never truly attempt anything meaningful. Growth and failure are connected. You cannot have one without the other. When failure happens, the first instinct is often to take it personally. People say, I failed, so I must be a failure. That belief is dangerous because it turns a temporary outcome into a permanent identity. Failure is an event, not a definition. It describes what happened, not who you are. The moment you separate your self-worth from your results, failure loses its power to stop you. Every setback carries information. Failure is feedback in its rawest form. It shows you what doesn't work, where you need to improve, and what skills you still need to develop. People who succeed long-term are not the ones who avoid mistakes, but the ones who learn from them quickly. They analyze what went wrong, adjust their approach, and try again with more wisdom than before. One of the reasons failure feels so heavy is because of comparison. Social media and public success stories often hide the struggle and highlight only the victory. This creates the illusion that successful people rise smoothly while everyone else stumbles. The truth is that behind every visible success is a long list of invisible failures. Comparing a behind-the-scenes struggles to someone else's highlight reel will always make you feel inadequate. Failure also tests your commitment. It asks a simple but powerful question. Do you want this badly enough to keep going? Many people quit at this stage, not because they lack ability, but because they lose belief. The pain of failure convinces them that the cost is too high. Those who become unstoppable understand that the cost of quitting is far greater than the cost of trying again. Another important lesson failure teaches is humility. It reminds you that you don't have all the answers and that growth requires openness. Humility allows you to seek help, accept advice, and remain teachable. Arrogance blocks progress, but humility accelerates it. When you accept failure as part of the journey, you remain flexible instead of defensive. Failure also builds resilience. Each time you recover from a setback, you become stronger emotionally and mentally. You learn that disappointment is survivable. You realize that even on your worst days, you can still move forward. This resilience becomes a quiet confidence. You stop fearing failure because you know you can handle it. That freedom makes you more willing to take risks, which leads to greater opportunities. It's important to understand that failure often comes before clarity. Sometimes you don't fully understand what you're meant to do until you experience what you're not meant to do. Wrong paths can still guide you to the right destination. What feels like wasted time may actually be preparation. Nothing is truly lost if it teaches you something valuable. People who succeed don't eliminate failure from their lives, they redefine it. They see it as a necessary step, not a dead end. They refuse to let one mistake their vision or one setback cancel their purpose. Instead of asking, what if I fail? They ask, what if I quit? That question keeps them moving. Failure does not mean you are finished. It means you are in progress. As long as you are willing to learn, adjust, and try again, failure cannot defeat you. It can slow you down, but it cannot stop you unless you allow it to. The environment you live in has a powerful influence on the person you are becoming. Many people focus on changing their goals without changing what surrounds them, and that mismatch creates constant struggle. Your environment includes the people you talk to, and the content you consume, the places you spend time in, and the habits that shape your daily routine. If these elements are not aligned with your growth, they will quietly pull you backward. People play one of the biggest roles in shaping your direction. The conversations you hear repeatedly become the thoughts you think regularly. If you are surrounded by people who complain, doubt themselves, and settle for less, that mindset slowly becomes normal to you. On the other hand, being around disciplined, focused, and forward-thinking individuals raises your standards without them having to say a word. Growth often requires difficult choices about who you allow close to you. This does not mean cutting everyone off or judging others harshly. It means being intentional. Not everyone is meant to go where you are going. Some people are part of your past, not your future. Holding on to relationships that no longer fit your direction can drain your energy and confuse your focus. Sometimes the loving thing you can do for yourself is create distance so you can grow. Your physical environment matters just as much as your social one. The spaces you spend time in affect your mood, your discipline, and your clarity. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. When your surroundings are chaotic, it becomes hard to think clearly and stay consistent. Small changes like organizing your workspace, limiting distractions, and creating a calm routine can have a powerful effect on your productivity and mindset. What you consume daily also shapes your environment. Music, videos, social media, and news all influence how you see the world. Constant exposure to negativity, drama, and comparison can make even the most motivated person feel discouraged. Feeding your mind with uplifting, educational, and challenging content helps you stay focused on growth. What you allow into your mind eventually shows up in your behavior. Another part of your environment is your habits. Habits are the invisible structure of your life. They determine how you spend your time and where your energy goes. Good habits support your goals without requiring constant willpower. Bad habits quietly sabotage your progress. Changing your environment to support better habits makes growth easier. For example, removing distractions, setting reminders, or surrounding yourself with tools that encourage productivity can make a big difference. Environment also affects your standards. When you are in a space where excellence is normal, mediocrity feels uncomfortable. When you are in a space where excuses are accepted, effort feels optional. You rise or fall to the level of what you tolerate around you. This is why changing environments can accelerate growth faster than trying to change through motivation alone. It's important to understand that upgrading your environment may feel lonely at first. When you start growing, you may no longer fit where you once belonged. That discomfort is not a sign you are doing something wrong, it's a sign you are evolving. Temporary loneliness is often the price of long-term growth. Creating a supportive environment is an act of self-respect. It is a way of saying that your goals matter and your future is worth protecting. When your environment supports you, progress feels more natural and less forced. You still have to work hard, but you are no longer fighting against your surroundings. Your environment either pushes you forward or pulls you backward. When you become intentional about what and who you allow into your life, growth stops feeling like a constant battle and starts feeling like a steady journey in the right direction. Consistency is the quiet force behind every lasting success. It doesn't make headlines, and it rarely feels exciting in the moment, but it is the reason ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Most people underestimate consistency because the daily actions feel too small to matter. They expect big changes from big efforts, not realizing that small actions repeated over time create unstoppable momentum. When you are consistent, you remove drama from progress. You stop relying on bursts of energy or moments of inspiration. Instead, you commit to showing up in a steady, reliable way. This approach may feel slow at first, but it builds a foundation that doesn't collapse under pressure. Consistency turns progress into a habit, and habits don't depend on mood. One of the biggest benefits of consistency is trust in yourself. Every time you follow through, even in small ways, you prove that your word matters. This self-trust is more powerful than external motivation. It creates quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation from others. Over time, you stop questioning whether you can do it because you've already shown yourself that you will. Consistency also protects you during difficult seasons. When life becomes stressful or unpredictable, consistent habits act like anchors. You may not perform at your best every day, but you continue moving forward. This prevents setbacks from turning into breakdowns. Instead of starting over repeatedly, you simply keep going from where you are. Another important aspect of consistency is patience. Results don't appear immediately, and that delay causes many people to quit. They assume that because they can't see progress, nothing is happening. In reality, growth is often invisible before it becomes obvious. Like compound interest, consistency works quietly in the background until one day the results seem to appear all at once. Consistency also simplifies decision-making. When you have a routine, you don't waste mental energy deciding what to do next. You already know. This clarity frees up focus for deeper work and creativity. The less you negotiate with yourself, the more energy you have to actually move forward. It's important to understand that consistency does not mean perfection. Some days you will fall short. You may miss a workout, make a mistake, or lose focus. Consistency is not about never failing, it's about not quitting. It's about returning to your habits as quickly as possible without guilt or self-criticism. The ability to restart is a form of strength. Consistency also shapes identity. Over time, you don't just do the work, you become the kind of person who does the work. This identity shift is powerful because behavior flows naturally from who you believe you are. When you see yourself as disciplined, reliable, and committed, your actions follow that belief. Another overlooked benefit of consistency is momentum. Once momentum builds, effort feels lighter. But once required, discipline begins to feel automatic. This is when progress accelerates. The early stages are hard because you are pushing against resistance. Later, consistency creates flow. Consistency levels the playing field. You don't need to be the smartest, fastest, or most talented person in the room. You just need to be the one who doesn't stop. Time rewards those who keep showing up. While others jump from one thing to another, consistent people quietly move ahead. In the end, consistency is a long-term promise you make to yourself. It's choosing progress over comfort, patience over impulse, and commitment over excuses. When you honor that promise day after day, success becomes less about chance and more about inevitability.